In a remote town with numerous cases of missing women, two female foreign travelers carelessly separate from each other. When one of them goes missing, the other eagerly searches for her friend while suspecting the worst of their thrilling vacation. In Argentina, two American cyclists, Stephanie and Ellie, travel through a remote town after isolating themselves from a bike tour. Ellie buys two crafted bracelets at a souvenir stall and gives one to her friend. On their way to a small hotel to spend their last night, locals eye the pair worriedly as they travel without a guide. Arriving at the hotel, Rosa Maria welcomes the two women and speaks with them in English. The hotelier informs her guests that the bus to Posadas, where the pair will go next, only comes every 8 in the morning. When Rosa Maria checks them in, she realizes that Stephanie and Ellie are traveling alone, making the hotelier worry about their safety. Then, Rosa Maria's husband, Luca, leads the two guests to their room. While Ellie showers, Stephanie's phone rings, which she ignores. Suddenly, someone aggressively knocks on their door, but Stephanie sees no one but two pairs of towels at their doorstep. Afterward, the two women spend their night at a local bar, earning interested looks from male customers. Stephanie's phone rings again from her ex-boyfriend's call, but Ellie tells her hesitant friend to ignore it and enjoy the night. Then, a waitress serves the pair a bottle of alcohol, which was bought for them by another customer, Chucho. Stephanie hesitates, but her carefree friend accepts it eagerly. Shortly after, Ellie orders more shots, making the most of their last night despite their early departure the following day. Not long after, an American man, Michael, enters the bar, earning Stephanie's attention. Intoxicated, Ellie changes the song from the jukebox and dances alluringly, beckoning for Chucho. At the same time, Stephanie watches the American man at the counter, who refuses confrontation from a barman and retreats to the restroom. Ellie follows him, pretending that the women's restroom is occupied. The assertive woman seduces Michael, but he declines her immediately, saying she should stay close to her friend. Afterward, Chucho invites Ellie to his table and takes pictures of her. Meanwhile, the lonely woman wanders around the bar, but when she looks back, her friend is gone. Worried, Stephanie grabs her stuff and searches outside for Ellie, whom she finds making out with Chucho. When the assertive woman sees her friend, she tells Stephanie to return to their room without her, to which she obliges. On her way back, Stephanie passes by Rosa Maria's window, where she finds her arguing with her husband, so Luca closes the window. In the middle of the night, a sudden noise outside Stephanie's window awakens her. It turns out to be her intoxicated friend intimately engaged with Chucho. The persistent man persuades the woman to continue their intimacy at his place and insists on bringing Stephanie as well. When Ellie firmly refuses, Chucho slams her wrist against the window. Realizing her friend's in danger, Stephanie exits the room, pulls her friend away from the man, and locks their door. Furious, Chucho bangs on the women's door, demanding them to open it, which unplugs the alarm clock from the repeated impact. Disturbed by the noise, Michael, who's staying next door, subdues the troublesome man against the wall, and Luca intervenes. Outnumbered, Chucho leaves, threatening Michael, who returns to his room. Unaware that their alarm clock was unplugged, the two cyclists wake up late the following morning and miss their early bus, which leaves just in time. With nowhere else to go, the two women return to the hotel, where Stephanie arranges their next flight over the phone. To kill time, she asks Rosa Maria about Villa del Lago, a tourist spot from an old brochure. Suspiciously, the hotelier folds the brochure and hides it, telling Stephanie the place is now deserted and suggesting they see other destinations. Then, Luca sees the foreign guests who haven't left and beckons his wife next door while Stephanie wakes the hungover Ellie. Soon, the two cyclists bike towards the waterfalls near the forbidden Villa del Lago. Seeing the beautiful scenery, Ellie persuades Stephanie to relax by the river and under the sun. Much later, Stephanie insists they should leave, but her carefree friend protests, saying the tedious woman needs to loosen up. However, Stephanie confronts Ellie for forcing herself on Michael, whom she's interested in the men's restroom last night. Realizing Stephanie's discomfort with her assertive ways, Ellie tells her friend that she should take a chance on other men aside from her cheating boyfriend. Irritated by each other's truthful banter, Stephanie packs her stuff and leaves her friend. Nevertheless, she waits outside the vicinity, expecting Ellie to follow her behind. However, Ellie remains at the riverbank, so Stephanie spends her time waiting in a canyon. Moments later, the carefree woman apologizes to her friend through a text, inviting her to meet at the restaurant they passed by by earlier. Suddenly, Ellie suspiciously looks at her surroundings, sensing danger when she suddenly faces the sinister presence. At the same time, Stephanie arrives at the restaurant and finds her friend nowhere, so she leaves her a voice message. Then, Michael sees the cyclist, introduces himself in his car, and offers her a lift, but Stephanie politely declines as she sets back to find her friend. Meanwhile, Ellie screams for help while struggling to break free from her abductor, who drags her through the woods. Arriving near the waterfalls, Stephanie finds Ellie's bike missing. Suspiciously, Michael follows behind her, offering to accompany the worried woman to look for her friend. Stephanie rings her friend's phone as they walk further, but they find the missing woman's device discarded on the grass. Nearby, Michael sees drops of blood, which he assumes belong to Ellie. The worried cyclist calls the police, but the man doubts they'll be of help. Soon after, a police officer, Calvo, arrives at the fall's entrance and knowingly greets Michael, who communicates with him in Spanish. Then, the American man leads the policeman inside and shows Calvo Ellie's pictures on her phone. The policeman wonders why Stephanie wasn't with her friend, so the worried woman reveals they argued. Convinced the missing cyclist left because of it, Calvo assures her that Ellie will return for her phone, and he retreats to his vehicle. Michael tries to stop the policeman from leaving, but Calvo only advises Stephanie to look for another lover since Michael's girlfriends all went missing. Despite the policeman's irreverence, Stephanie grabs his arm and describes Chucho, who possibly took her friend. To ease the cyclist's nerves, Calvo asks her to file a report, so they drive to the police station while Michael watches them leaving. On the road, the officer advises Stephanie not to trust Michael, but the woman assures him she's dubious of everyone. At the station, Stephanie anxiously waits for the policeman to open the case for her lost friend as she sees the numerous missing profiles of other women on the board. When Calvo finishes the report, the troubled woman insists the police should conduct an immediate search party, but the officer shrugs her worries, still believing that Ellie isn't missing. Turning things around, Calvo claims Stephanie shouldn't have left her friend alone in a foreign country. Taken aback, the guilt-ridden cyclist takes the officer's advice to wait until tomorrow to see if Ellie will return. Nevertheless, Stephanie asks around town if they have seen her missing friend, but the locals warily ignore the foreigner. Then, Chucho sees the woman asking around, so he runs away immediately, prompting Stephanie to follow him. Into the woods, the suspicious man crosses a deserted track, making the cyclist stop. Earning distance through the dangerous trail, Chucho smirks at his pursuer and jumps down. Still, Stephanie chases the troublesome man but loses sight of him at the river. Defeated, the cyclist retreats to her bike, where she finds its spokes severed. Without her bike, Stephanie returns to Hotel Rosa Maria to check if Ellie has returned, but she finds their room locked and empty. She sees Michael's door ajar, so she enters the unoccupied room uninvited and rummages through his bag. Stephanie finds Ellie's crafted bracelet when Luca enters and eyes the woman accusingly. The confused foreigner is unable to understand the Argentinian, so she leaves the room instantly. Afterward, Stephanie reports her discovery to the policeman. Calvo promises to question Michael and tells her to let him do his job. Anxious, the cyclist returns to the hotel and tells Rosa Maria about her friend's disappearance. Distraught about the sudden incident, the hotelier comforts Stephanie as she shares knowing looks with Luca. Suddenly, the restless cyclist sees Chucho pass by on his motorbike, so she quietly steals Rosa Maria's car keys and heads to her truck. Coincidentally, Stephanie sees the police car leave, so she follows the suspicious man on the road. Shortly after, Stephanie trails Chucho as he turns to Villa del Lago, where she sees a barricade gate filled with warning signs. Regardless of the impending danger ahead, Stephanie drives forward until she reaches a barren wasteland, where she continues on foot. In a ruinous building, Stephanie sees Michael behind her, so she runs away in fright, thinking he's the kidnapper. However, Michael persuades the distressed woman that he's harmless. Doubtful, Stephanie shows him Ellie's bracelet, accusing him of abducting her friend. To prove his innocence, Michael shows Stephanie a picture of his missing girlfriend Camila, wearing the same bracelet as Ellie's. He reveals that he was on a humanitarian mission with Camila, who went alone in town to gather supplies but never returned, so he vowed to look for her ever since. Distraught, Stephanie realizes Michael has gone through the same length as her with the police, but to no avail. Michael thinks the missing women were abducted and sold across the river to Paraguay in a human trafficking scheme. He suggests they split up to cover more ground before it gets dark, to which Stephanie agrees. Somewhere, Ellie slowly regains consciousness in a room where pictures of women and a map to Paraguay are pinned on the wall. Meanwhile, Calvo arrives at the barren town where Stephanie's stolen vehicle is parked. The policeman finds Michael and asks him about Stephanie's whereabouts because of a reported stolen car. Michael denies seeing the cyclist and questions the officer's priorities over a missing person. So Calvo invites him to his vehicle. While Chucho eagerly watches his portable television, the captive cyclist gasps for water, which the kidnapper carelessly attends to. Afterward, Ellie quietly grabs a glass shard with her bound hands, taking advantage of the distracted man. Then, Ellie beckons Chucho to kiss her, and when he comes close, she attacks him with her weapon. However, the kidnapper quickly overpowers the struggling woman and defiles her. Suddenly, Chucho's phone rings, so Ellie cowers in shame, screaming for help while her captor takes the call. Meanwhile, the anxious cyclist sees the culprit's motorbike outside a deserted building. Finding Chucho's hideout, Stephanie quietly switches off the portable generator, distracting the man. While Chucho recoils the generator to power electricity, Stephanie approaches her subdued friend. Unfortunately, she trips on Ellie's bike, alarming the criminal, so she hides behind a pillar. Seeing no one around, Chucho returns to his generator, so Stephanie rushes over to the captive and frees her. Just in time, the criminal sees the two women, who quickly exit the vicinity, so he chases after them. When Chucho looks around, searching for the pair, Ellie repeatedly hits him with a wooden branch. In the stolen vehicle, Stephanie frantically starts the vehicle when the wounded criminal pounds at the door. Suddenly, the perpetrator appears in front of the vehicle and smashes a rock on the windshield. Ellie finds an insecticide and sprays it on Chucho's face, making him fall from the hood. The two immediately run away until they see the police car ahead. However, the criminal catches up with them and tackles Ellie on the ground, bashing her head on a rock, which kills her instantly. Shocked by her friend's death, Stephanie attacks the surprised Chucho when Michael comes to the woman's aid. Calvo gets in between the two men while the anguished woman confirms that Chucho was Ellie's companion the other night. The officer then grabs the criminal at gunpoint and orders Stephanie to get inside the car for her safety. With the woman inside the vehicle, Calvo looks at the lifeless Ellie, disappointed about the beautiful woman's death, calling her a waste. Meanwhile, Stephanie finds her friend's passport inside the car, realizing that Calvo gathered Ellie's information as he's Chucho's conspirator. However, the vehicle is locked, so Stephanie pounds at the window, warning Michael. Calvo doesn't hide his ill intention of abducting the lone woman, so Michael snatches the officer's gun and aims it at the two criminals. Enraged, Michael demands Camila's whereabouts as he orders the men to kneel. Calvo insists the missing woman is safe, but Michael doesn't falter. Then, the officer offers Michael to trade Stephanie for Camila. Although conflicted, Michael drops his gun as he chooses to be with his lover. However, when he turns to face Stephanie, Calvo pulls out his other gun and shoots Michael dead. That night, Calvo threatens his captive to behave, wondering if she's a virgin. Stephanie retaliates against the man's touch, so Chucho hands his partner a pair of electric rods attached to their generator. Suddenly, Calvo receives a call from his dealer in Paraguay, who found a client for their American captive. Afterward, Chucho puts Stephanie to sleep with a chloroform-doused cloth, readying her for their transport. Soon after, the two men transfer the unconscious woman to a boat as they pass through a river to Paraguay, where they will sell her. Moments later, Stephanie regains consciousness and grabs a fishing net. Then, she pushes a distracted Chucho off the boat with the net, obstructing the vehicle's motor from running. Eventually, the struggling kidnapper fails to escape from the net and drowns to death. Alarmed, Calvo chases Stephanie, who jumps into the river. The captive hides underwater, where she frees her wrists from being bound while Calvo searches for her with a flashlight on the boat. Then, Stephanie swims ashore, so Calvo jumps in the water, following behind. Unfortunately, Calvo's dealer, Hernan, confronts the escapee while the officer catches up and holds the woman at knife point. The man hesitates to buy the American woman, saying that people will search for her, but Calvo insists he buys her. Suddenly, Stephanie kicks Hernan, frees herself from Calvo, and escapes again. Calvo chases the cyclist with a gun as they reach a neighborhood, where Stephanie pounds at a window for help. However, the persistent perpetrator shoots the local dead, so Stephanie hides and grabs a knife. When the woman sneaks to escape, Calvo corners her, so she stabs his leg and grabs his gun. Then, Stephanie shoots her perpetrator dead, ending her lengthy chase. As the sun rises, the restless foreigner trudges along the road and grabs a rock to protect herself when she sees a truck approaching. A female soldier cautiously walks towards the defensive woman, but Stephanie's exhausted body surrenders in her arms as the soldier brings her to safety.
Subscribe to watch more videos like this, turn on notifications and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.